Hello, if you're joining me tonight, uh, I have for you a broccoli. Um, you might think that's not a very interesting thing to paint, and you might well be right. I guess we'll find out, won't we? Um, so I've got some time to consider it because I've got a bit of dithering to do, as I always do. Which involves getting some paints and things. So some of you may know that I've just finished a couple of weeks of doing Art Weeks, which is a open studio event. So you may be able to see things piled up behind me. So that came to an end yesterday. It was a good experience. Yeah, I suppose I don't have any more to say about that. It's if you missed it, it'll be on again in 2 years. So that's your next opportunity to miss it. Yeah, but lots of visitors and lots of people taking an interest in this kind of random stuff, painting pictures of things for some reason. So the next thing is a show in Shaftesbury, which I have coming up in about 6 weeks. It's quite exciting. At the gallery at Shaftesbury Art Centre. So I'll be doing some adventures. If you would like to keep track of my trials and tribulations, my socials are at the bottom of the screen. So do give me a follow, or have a look at least. I've been massively out of the habit of posting anything, but I'm really going to give it a go over the next 6 weeks, and it'll probably be an island of activity. It won't be like this is how it's going to be forever, but I'll do 6 weeks of just sharing everything that's going on, in the hope that it gives a bit of context to the shows and things like that. And then when that's done, I'll disappear for 6 months again, like I normally do. Now, this subject matter, it's got particularly interesting qualities, in that it seems like it's just one colour, but it is in fact several. The way the light plays off broccoli, it always goes bluish, which is an interesting one. In fact, the whole thing's really quite blue. You just get little bits of green around the edge. So this is very much a thing of playing with, I suppose, in a sense, a bit like a portrait. Instead of adding warmth, adding reds where you need to warm it up, I'm adding yellow where I need to green it up. Green it up, yeah. That's the phrase now. Let's act like that's normal language. So I will be getting up and having a little look at comments and bits and pieces. So don't be afraid to chuck in a passing hello if you're having a dip in, seeing what I'm doing. It's also perfectly fine to lurk silent in the background. That's what I would do. So all on board with that. Yeah. So this sort of scraping of the palette is almost meditative. It's part of my preparation. If anyone tells me again to get ready beforehand, then well, again, I'll do absolutely nothing like I did last time. But I will delete the comment, and I will Probably, yes, make the point again that this is all about just being behind the scenes, being in the process. So this is a nice extension to Art Weeks in that respect. It's a little thing of what goes on when I'm mucking about with making pictures, and some of the kind of problem solving. Well, it's a week really, isn't it? This paint's gone very hard, quite difficult to remove. So yeah, I know this isn't compelling viewing, but never really promised that, to be fair. Yeah. Rescue some of that blue, is that going to be okay? Yeah, I'll rescue a few more colours off the side of this palette from the previous week. Oh no, that's already gone. What about this? Just because there's a little bit of a harmony and an accent. As always, you'll be able to see this tomorrow in the Beanshot Cafe, along with other previous, well, the most recent 3 live streams. Last week was the Starving Artist bread and water episode, what with being in the middle of Art Weeks and everything. This week, I'm afraid I'm not in evening dress anymore, so yeah, no black tie this evening. Picked up some of this rubbish. Now this isn't going to be a palette heavy painting, this one. The palette doesn't have to do loads. I'm going to have a little think about how I can express some of the structure of broccoli, which is probably the most interesting thing about it. With a certain amount of texture and, you know, using the paint in a sympathetic way. Is this? I left these brushes in from last week. It's been a busy week. That's terrible, isn't it? And what's this thing doing here? I don't want that. And take that out of the way. There we go, bit of blue tack. There's some. Pretty solid. Off we go, I guess. It's a shame I can't get the broccoli perfectly in focus, but I'll do a little close up for you. See if I can. There we are. No, it will not focus on it, will it? We have to turn it a bit more. Almost. Yeah, need some better cameras. So there's some interesting structure there, some lights and darks, and I've got this sort of background, foreground, and the plate. So I might do a little bit of a, what would you call it? Invention with background colours and the like, that kind of thing. Should I do it landscape rather than portrait? I think I should do it landscape. After all that palaver with me blue tack and what have you. I'm going to change that up. Right. Start with some raw umber, I think. Pull some of that out of its skin. Anyway, we'll pull all of that out of its skin and dispose of the skin into the box. Oh, that's that as well. That's fine. I don't want to be obsessively cleaning my palette. Like I say, it's all part of the dithering. And you know what? I'm going to put a pinky quality behind this. I'm going to put it into the drawing in the background. I'm going to have some of that. And I'm going to put some alizarin in as well. Or, what was that? Was that magenta? Yeah, magenta, that's perfect. I'm going to put some magenta in. It's going to work through into things like the shadows and stuff like that, where the paint's less thick. That's going to do a job. It's going to be an important colour, I think. Oh, pinky goodness. That and the raw umber, I'm going to get a sort of a dark reddy brown. Raw umber is going to give it a yellowy quality, which will soften it right down. There we go. Big brush. Bit of thinners. Give some pinky. Now, am I confident about that? Do I want to rotate it a bit? Well, just a little bit. That kind of works. There's a few structures in, as you can see inside. That's good. I've also got a secondary light source, so I'm not sure how well the secondary light source is working, right? Have a little play with that. We put that of here. Way too much. Way too much. Yeah. I don't know how to make that work. Yeah, that gives it sort of a pinky glow on the inside. Yeah, that'll do. There's a nice bit of light on that little bit of leaf sticking out as well. Okay, it's going to be around here. That's where my block is going to be. Thin it again. Thinner. Here. What's that? What's I thinking? No. My stupid brain getting in the way. That's there. It goes up. Okay. What's happening over there? Don't even know. Soften all that down. It's sort of a top of the plate there. Side of it is this plane. That's a little bit higher up, I think. Where is it? I guess that moves all of this up a bit. Yeah, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm not going to overly complicate all of this. Mm-hmm. Quite get halfway there. Oh, that's okay. A bit of light there. A bit more just over here, and I think that's pretty much my drawing in. There you are. Quite like it like that, actually. Maybe I should stop there before I ruin it. Often the way with paintings. Oh, that's an interesting thing, because that, I guess that's flat across here, but actually I've tipped it up a little bit. That's okay. Maybe that comes up there and that comes down a bit. Should bring that in. It's probably the slant at the back that's making that happen. Again, I'm not going to overwork that either. There we go. There's a bit of drawing. I'm going to give that a moment to sort of do some evaporating. And put in a bit of extra for the shadow, really let that stain. Stick out. Where's that sticking out a bit further? Maybe. There we go. Oh. Oh. Well, those are photographing food. while I'm painting it. I need to adjust this camera a bit now, don't I? Because I changed my orientation. Let's see how this looks here. Right. Next thing, I think I'll just do a next level. I'll use it, I said about getting these blues off. And pick up some of these blues and greys. And I'm going to do this sort of next level of darks. Just in the places that they go, which are going to sort of be in here. Which travels across. There's a bit there. That's where that back line is, if I trust my drawing, which I think I do. Put a bit of that under there. A bit too early, really. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't get too caught up with the drawing here. That is going to get super thin at the front. That's what I'm saying. I shouldn't get too caught up with the drawing and immediately get too caught up with the drawing. Some of these ellipses, but really just try, really try and concentrate just on the shapes. There's a bits of broccoli there. I quite like the plain background. I'm going to keep that. Clean that brush off and put some more of this blue in here. Sort of thing here. I'm not entirely sure where all that goes, so vague it becomes. With that background. Don't have to do it all at the drawing stage. This is just to get rid of the white of the canvas, although I've kind of already done that with the primer, but you get what I mean. Okay. I guess it's mixing time already. Just charge straight into it. I'm thinking about what to populate the palette with. Well, that's a bigger question. I've got some yellow ochre left over. I'll dig that out. Some of that. Oh, that's gone really gummy and old. The rest of that can go in the bin. A shame, really, but there you go. Off we go. Some cadmium red again. I'm not going to need a lot of red, so. I used to have a donor card, and then they stopped doing donor cards. I think they've just made it normal that for if you're in the situation to be an organ donor, then that just happens automatically unless you've expressly said you don't want to be. So that's good. That's good. It's an improvement, I think. That's the way it should be. Yeah, so I've got this cadmium red, yellow, a little bit of cadmium red left, but clean that off, which basically means getting it out of the skin that it's formed and not being touched. It does stay open for quite a long time, the cadmium yellow, but then it kind of seals up. Yeah, there we go. So again, a lot of this painting is going to be about measuring the amount of yellow that goes in. Fairly small quantities. But it's going to be dominated by blue, and I'm going to want a bit of, oh, there's a bit of viridian left as well. Some viridian green. I need some more of that. Let's clear a space. And there's that blue. Blue's still open. That's good. It stays open a long time, that blue. I'm going to mix a greeny blue using ultramarine. And that viridian's going in. I think I'll add some talocyanine green. And that's sort of a really intense blue, but that's not really the one I'm going to be using. So I'm going to mute it with this black colour I mixed. That being a sort of a reddy black will give that purpley quality. And so I can tip it towards, that's not it. Yeah, and tip it towards different sort of accents. Where it becomes darker, it will become less yellow. So this is going to be a tricky one to try and discuss, actually. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put that here. This blue's going to go. It's going to go like a Prussian blue, pretty much. Put this greeny quality to it now. We get some of that. Yeah, this is interesting. Some of this sort of blackish colour. Put that in between. Yeah, that's like a purpley black. And that I can add to yellow and make it's effectively that's where the yellow colour comes up in the shadow, comes up as a green. It goes back into the shadow. I'll use a bit of mixing white here. A bit back into the blue. Yeah, I must remember to switch over the camera when it comes to time to start painting, but I'll go to the palette cam for a while. Good evening, Sue. Yeah, it will be a different painting. Quite right. Quite a bit of variety. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of fun though, I think. So yeah, so I've got this very sort of deep Prussian sort of blue over here. This is just for ground colours. I've got this yellower one over here. If I make a slightly lighter version of this, and a lighter version of this. Somewhere in between them will be kind of the colours I'm going to need. Yeah, that'd be interesting. So I'll do a couple of other things. I'll do the plate colour, which is going to have a little bit of this pinky quality to it. I'm going to use some mixing white. I can go down here, a bit of this, just to set it off. Yeah, that's got an even deeper shadow next to it. Some of that up as well. Maybe push that down. Yeah, that's pretty good. And we'll also have no, just to save a bit of room. So that tiny bit, yeah. These bits. That's little enough. I think that's little enough. Okay, it's my highlight colour for the plate. Still a little bit pinky. I use a bit of cadmium just to warm that up. I've still got room to go for like a bright highlight, okay. Specular highlight, if you like, where you get that gleam. What else? Oh yeah, so the shadow. So I mixed this black, which is quite fun. Put a bit of white in it because it's nowhere near an actual black. Now I'm going to use these colours to find my way to the colours I really need. I think it's going to look blue enough. I think there's a slightly lighter one that actually goes a bit pinker as well. This too. Yeah, a bit of an instinct for these things. And this should be so much lighter. It's really subtle. These tones need to be much closer together. A bit of titanium white. Just bleach that out a bit. Still a bit darker than that, which is fine, yes. I'm okay with that. So I've got this sort of interesting collection of colours, the lights for the plate. These sort of blues and these, well, what are actually a kind of yellow-green colours with the broccoli. And then there will be a bit of crossover between these different things, and different amounts of yellow are going to go in as required. They will make their their presence known. Interestingly, this shadow colour here, this paler shadow that's around here and underneath here, it's kind of the same as the colour of the table. Colour of the table's ever so slightly darker, but it's still on this pinky range, and the same with the plate in the background. So I think I can kind of use these for both. In fact, I'll start off with this shadowy pinky colour. And this should create a nice, I'm already seeing a harmony between these. So this is going to look really off, but I can bring it back later. There we go. So get over here. It's just a base colour to get chucked in there. Bit dark around the edges. That's also going to go. Where's that going to go? Actually, no, I'll move across to the lighter one. It's going to get you there. There's going to be more yellow going in that, but I might do it as perceptual light. I think that'd be useful. I want this sort of pinky colour as a base. Yeah, as I move around, the drawing moves around, so I don't want to get too caught up with it all. Yeah. And I've got this direction here with the broccoli, this sort of central stalk, which I'm very aware of, so I'm naturally working against that with the direction of the background strokes. So, yeah, lots of things being played with as I go along. This will make more sense later on. This here, there is same kind of thing here. Okay. You know, I can put in other bits as it goes along. So. Yeah, so while I'm looking for this shadow colour, which will come next, there's a few of these sorts of highlights going around. I'm falling back into habits that I know I already have. I don't want to change them up too much. Actually, I'll keep that as a light brush and go over to this as my my shadow brush, and I'll start with the lighter shadows and see if they work. So this should go against here quite nicely. It definitely needs to be a bit pinker and redder as it goes in. Oh, it's odd. And then here, it's higher. Started painting, haven't I? Hey! Caught myself. I'm just going to leave it with the main scene from now on. Because otherwise I will forget. Yeah, so what was I doing? Yeah, so putting some of those in there, some other bits in here, which I will find my way to. It's a bit sort of cryptic to try and figure out what's going on in here, but it's not too bad. Yeah, this is also a colour that's sort of present in this background. And again, I've got this circle of this plate, so I kind of almost want to work my way against the edges. This brush is losing its shape. That's bad news. It's a bit darker at the back, but yeah, there's a bit of a fashion these days for this sort of, you know, like deliberate clumsiness. It's sort of an aesthetic that comes from a serious painting approach, which is about prioritizing colors and relationships and that whole thing of what makes a person see a thing and have an experience, and leaving out the detail. But at the same time, I have noticed some pretty shoddy stuff. So every time I try and stop myself getting into the detail, you know what, I like detail. I like that sort of, I like there to be enough there. I especially like giving the impression of detail, only to disappoint people when they get up close and they realise it isn't really there. That blue is not right, but I quite like it. Sort of an accent colour almost. There's a redder version over here. Let's put a bit of that in. It's going to go there. Bits of fluff and stuff in it. Where else is that? That's also in here. It gets darker over there. It's also under there a little bit, actually. Yeah, that works pretty well. So yeah, I feel like I've already got my some of my shadow in. It's much darker under here. It's not the whole story. So the sort of shape of the plate thing is going to be, I'm going to go back to this light here. And all of this is still missing the yellow. I'm going to introduce more yellow later on as I get stuck into it. I'm already into brush mixes. Oh, that's quite violet. What else is this? It's going to have a bit around here. To be really careful with something like a violet. Right, go back to my darks. Okay, now I usually try to avoid describing an edge in that way, because you can lose track of the shapes, which is where I caught myself earlier. But actually, I do quite like to have a, what should you call it? I wander around those edges. I like to get to know them. I find it easier to sort of ignore them or overrule them if I've sort of created some kind of familiarity. Now, I'm going to put a bit of yellow in this. And the cadmium yellow is opaque and it's quite strong, so you see that go in. It's already green. And I need a lot more of that magenta. So that powerful magenta is actually going to be quite important. Yeah, that's also where it gets darker. There'll be a lighter yellow going in there as well. This is all going to contrast with the greens of the broccoli itself, which I think I might have a little crack at now. You. Oh, you. Starting with some eights, nothing too fancy. Starting with the dark blues. And that's some interesting bits where that's going to go. Specifically where I put these shadows earlier. And this is going to be quite sort of thin paint that's kind of scrubbed in. And yeah, a few pinches like that. Now this is interesting. There is this leaf here. I always peel them off with broccoli. I don't know if you're meant to eat them. I just feel like this sort of that's not in the right place. Oh, what's happening here? Right, there's that structure there, there's that shadow there. That comes in, that comes up, that comes down here. Should be some light across there. I'm all right. I just missed a bit of light. Yeah, there's a nice intense blue there, and I quite like having that to play with, to bounce the other colours off. It's also and each pass over this, I fine tune a little bit about where the shapes are and what relates to what. Yeah. Yes, it's interesting the way that the broccoli forms these structures where the shape of the floret comes from. The light will do most of it, but in the meantime, let's get some more of this. Going to work some of this blue under here. Quite a lot, in fact. Let's work all that in. Maybe some shadows there. A bit less of it there. Yeah, that kind of does it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this darker greeny colour mixed, which I think might be too green, but let's see how it plays. That's too much. It is too much. Got to be so careful with green. I'll put a bit of light in it. A little bit of this blue. Still might be too clean a colour. Oh no, that's working better. Like I said, I still haven't introduced the, it's got to be grayer. I still haven't introduced the yellow to it. So again, so I found the colour I want now, and I think I need to mix some more of that. It was a mixture of this green, this blue, I know where that came from as well, and some white. Let's see what that does. Yeah, so I can put some of these shapes of florets in now. Still too green, I think. That's actually most of the green is in these little gaps. Yeah. Wakey, wakey. Okay, yeah, there's a few greens in there. I'm going to go slightly bluer again as I get round near the top. Some shapes there and there. Long way off the lights yet. Ah, okay, I'm hurrying now. I need to not hurry, I need to slow down. Slow down to speed up, that's what they say, isn't it? And that involves proper observation of what's where until I actually know, and then I can react to it. That is the lights there. Now, actually, I've got my light background colour. And refine some of these shapes here. Yeah, it's interesting how this is sort of coming together already in a weird way. I'll pick up some of that light. I'm going to put it there. Just mix the colour I'm going to use for the edge of the plate, just so I know it harmonises. Which it does. I want some of that directionality. That's a bit of a wonky drawing, but I'll fix that coming back the other way. Yeah, so I might try a little bit of that sort of clunky effect of not overdoing the edges, but I like to get to know them on the surface, as it were, rather than just... Yeah, that's part of the fun of painting for me, is sort of putting these things on and shifting them around and finding out about them. I could just stare at it for ages and do it in my head first, but I mean, I could do that without painting a thing, really, so... Okay, now when I get back to this bit, go that one step yellower, a little bit lighter. We can put some of these lights onto... Oh, okay, that's way too... It's way too green already. It's incredibly strong. It's a highlight colour. So again, let's back out of that. Let's go to this bluish colour again. See what happens with this. It's a bit more like it. Now, see, that's almost too minty coloured. Maybe somewhere in between the two. Maybe it's just too clean. Maybe I need a bit of red in there. Try that. This is a weird recipe. Oh, yeah. Well, there is a broccoli appearing now. I don't know if I need to go back to my shadow colour, but to do the same sort of thing again, just pick up some of that green, mix it with some red, and pop that in here. Slightly lighter as it goes across. That's still not it. There's a bit of yellow and white reflecting back there. Grayer, paler. I'm into brush mixes already, but it's kind of working. What else behind that? And some other. Oh, it's 8 o'clock already. Probably a good time for a break then. I start to see my broccoli appearing. I'm looking forward to working into this with a bit of thicker paint. Yeah, so I'll put a time lapse on and come back and join you. While I've got that on the brush, let's put a bit of blue on here. We'll see how well that works for those, how blue those highlights go. I can already start to see it. It's gonna work. Feels good. All right. Have a time lapse on me. Sorry if the screen goes black for a bit. Graham's done his back in posing, so I'm going to have to wait for next week for the efficiency to come back. Oh, hi, Josie. Yes, broccoli is it's good food, isn't it? Okay, well, here's a time lapse, and I will be back forthwith. Oh, screen through it. Sorry about that. Yes, it's a bit of a study in green, this, and green is a tricky colour. It has an interesting quality, similar quality to blue, really, but with a different kind of context, which is that, how would I put it? It's especially in something like a landscape, it becomes a context colour. It's not the colour of things, it's the colour against which things are set, if that makes sense. Just like the blue of the sky or the sea is actually the colour of the void, it's the colour of the the red being taken away from the light, and the blue being scattered around, rather than the colour of a thing, like a local colour, like a red fire engine or whatever it might be. And so green takes on the same quality a lot of the time. Maybe it's just in the eye of a sort of, people who live in green places, but we certainly have a heightened sensitivity to green. There's been interesting studies done where it's a fascinating thing. I recommend you look it up if you possibly can. I can't give a proper link to it, but I can't even remember. I think I saw it in a TV show, but it was they had these swatch panels of lots of color swatches, and they were nearly identical. Well, they were all identical but one green, which was clearly different, and they showed them to people who live in sub-Saharan Africa, and they all looked the same to them. And then they showed this picture of this sort of browny beigey colour that were clearly all the same. You couldn't tell the difference, and they all pointed at the same one and go, obviously that one. And they could see this difference that is just invisible to my eye. And it's a fascinating thing how we kind of get conditioned by colour, and I guess to a certain extent, it's context. Context is the best word for it, really. It has this sort of has this job it does, I'm going to change that. It's such a funny shape. Let's bring some of that in here. Same kind of thing the other side. Oh, this symmetry is going to be important, he says, absolutely failing to pin it down. Okay, now that's there. The one thing I haven't got on the palette is the thing that's hinted at by having this pinky colour and this yellowy green colour is a kind of an orange. I got that bit of yellow ochre out earlier, and that's the key to my orange, and that's that the yellow's being introduced. Actually, I think you're going to have to be more like an orangey colour that gets introduced, so I'm going to mix a bit of that. I'll put it over here. Use a little bit of that cadmium that's left over, not much. A little bit of this yellow ochre, which is quite nice and sticky. This peachy colour is going to create a nice sort of tint and accent for some of the other colours that go in. So I can put some in here straight away. And that's going to mix on the surface. I'll mix it with some of this light. And create a bit of a softer edge working against the broccoli. Especially sort of pulling out some of these edges. Breaking up some of those edges as well. It's also going to have a little moment around the edge of the plate, but not yet. That in there. Again, maybe I'm just going too early with this. It's not quite necessary yet. There you go. A bit of light behind. It's going to help. We've got that, we can put a bit in here. A little bit there. A little bit there. Same thing here. That's quite fun. Okay, now this light also turns up. That's my leaf. The outside of that leaf, I'm going to put it in here. It's too much, but I think I can make it work. A bit there. And a bit here. Those are one of the brightest bits. It goes in there and ticks down. Now it's starting to describe the shape of this plate somewhat better, he says. Yeah, the front of the plate definitely needs to come up. So I might need to do a bit of adjusting. It's going to get lighter and yellower. Get to the front, do it in bits. Got a flash of light across there. Nice little reflection. And right, where was I with the other colours? Oh yeah. Okay, now I'm going to mix some more of this. Put some of this green. That needs to lighten up. Quite a bit around there. Yeah, still quite green. Make it a little bit yellow. I'll use the yellow ochre just to keep it soft. I can do the same thing with this blue over here. I can get even brighter. Let's see what this does. Let's put some of this green around here. Not too bright. It is. No, we'll really see it. How else does that go? There's some in here. No, that's the same. Borrow a bit of that blue. Push this down again. Okay, so I'm going to be keeping the dark tones quite close together. The paint's getting a bit thicker now. We can go one brighter with this, but in the short term, that should work. And again, it's not going to get all the way to the edge, so it's going to leave some of this other, this green showing through. Make a platform for the bright greens that are going to go on top. There's still, even within the individual bits of florets, there's this sort of directionality of the structures. Bring some out the edges. A bit of light in there. The shapes underneath. Something here. A couple of bits of light. This is an easier texture than the bread, I'm finding. Okay, you need a dark brush again. Can't remember which one's which. Okay, yeah, this one. Got some of this darker blue colour. Let me get some of this deeper green that I made. And around here, there's some of these other shapes. Maybe they're a bit more neutral than that. It's hard to tell. Actually, no, that's sort of the wrong size. I think it almost looks too green. I might go even bluer, maybe even a bit grayer. That's too dark now. Lighten it again. This is push and pull. Somewhere around here. Okay, there we are. There's this bluish colour in the shadow. Where else can I see that as a bit? like I've done that twice. Should be enough now. Also here, some of these lights. And that. There we go. Okay. I'm going to make that yellower now and a bit peachier. Let's see what that does. Okay, so definite stronger greens under there. I guess that will do for that. There's some in here that gets to a stronger green. This will be as well. And here, and here. And there's a bit. No, that's bluish again, which is okay in some places. Not in others. You know what, that's perfect for this leaf here. Work for that bit. Wake up. Go even lighter. Work for that bit too. A few of those little frills. What else? Again, paler. Okay, so I'm really pushing this towards the light now, and I'm going to use this for here. So this particular bright highlights. Okay, it's also going to give me this edge up here. Okay, now I'm finding my way in. These subtle little shifts, but enough little bits of reflected light that I can bring in some of those greens, some of these yellows around here. And even as I move across, mixing this peachy colour. It's going to go in here. So I'm going to have some bits of mauve as well that are going to wander in. Now I could do with, I don't know if to use some oil or whether to, you know what, how does that look? Yeah, no, thicker paint's better. Some of this blue here, I put that around the top edges where it's sort of catching the light. Yeah. I'm going to go for the even paler one. I'm just going to slather that on here. Yeah. Yeah. A bit up here as well. Take a moment to have a look at that. Well, I've got that bluish one on the brush. I can actually pop a few little shapes in here. Just try and get it to behave itself a bit better. A bit better, sort of. Yeah, does it? It's fine. Highlight. There's a grayer green underneath. I'm not going to go back into the darks. I think they're okay. There will be some brighter yellows coming along in a bit, but that's okay. That's waiting for that. This is somewhere in between. Yeah, that's all right. Right, let's do those brighter yellows. Really wander into those. That's going to do it. Lighter. A little bit on there. That's probably pretty much it. I don't think I can get any more on that. Let's introduce a few little bits of yellow. There we are. Little bits around the back here, especially around the edges. You get these yellowy highlights just inside the florets. There we go. They're catching a little bit of light there. Just to create a bit more separation between the florets and the texture and the pattern. And then, yeah. I'm not going to overly fiddle with that. Let's put a bit more light into this. Just a little bit of that yellowy light. A little bit of reflection there. And last thing, and I think I can do this with another brush. I'm going to pick up some of these violety lights. Just where they kind of go in the gaps. More of a tonal trick than a colour trick. The colour is going to help. Just to create an edge there. Get that peachy colour again. Pop a few highlights on there. Sort of reached the limit of how much paint I can get on the surface now. So at a certain point, I'm going to have to call it quits. But I can get a few of these slightly violet highlights in a few places, especially up here. Helps break that edge and makes it look a bit fuzzier at the edge. Oh, here we are. I can really see it across here, across the top of this one, across that top edge of that. It's not quite taking. Across the top edge of this. up here. Yeah, and that violet is really going to create a kind of separation. There's a definite broccoli feeling. Mm-hmm. And I quite like the pink and the green. It's an interesting sort of complement. That's the word. Well, complement, yes. I don't know if it's a compliment, but there you go. Right, I'll go back to that orangey colour. Let's mix some more of that. Just pop it on the brush, and let's put some of that in here just to sort of soften down. Lumps, don't want lumps, get off. The intensity of that colour, just warm it up in the background a bit, especially around here. Oh, you know what, even more in the foreground. Let's get a load of that, and a bit of white, a bit of red. Make a nice orange. Mm-hmm. And probably what I should have done first, more of that. Probably should. Right there. Comes around the corner. Same kind of thing here. Behave. Not going to overwork that. Put a bit of that oranginess into that shadow. That's quite nice. A little bit into here. I'm not going to fiddle with it too much. I'm fiddling with it too much. Okay. Lighten that. A bit more of that to the background, just to really brighten it up around here. Just to create that edge, that separation. Yeah. Just to make it jump out a bit. I think that's there. Few little things. Some of that sticky stuff in there. No. Yes, no. It's hard to pin down exactly what it wants to be. Oh, you know what? Stop, go. Do I need to do a bit more? I think that's probably it. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. I don't think it's been massively successful, but at the same time, it could have been so much worse. So that's always worth bearing in mind, isn't it? Break that line a bit. I think I probably need a few more reds in the shadows, but there's a few leftover bits. Yeah, it's okay. Don't obsess about it. You said obsessing about it. Stop it. Okay, that'll do. Broccoli. Thank you for joining me. And have a quick look and see if there's any messages I need to respond to. But yes, apologies for not having assistance tonight. You just can't get the staff these days. Let's just round on this and have a proper look at it. Oh, come on, behave. Stuck in the way. You may notice I haven't signed it yet. I'm still deciding whether to. Oh, there's something I like about that. Not entirely sure what, but something. Just trying to get rid of what shine I can. So there's always little things, isn't it? I will sign it. But before I do that, we'll get some of this reddish dark. We'll break a few bottom edges of these shapes. There you go. Terrible signature, but there you go. I'll write my name on the back, I usually do. And have a look at my subject matter. There it is. I am going to eat this now. So. There it is. I haven't quite got the same contrast I needed, I don't think, but yeah, I was painting this afternoon as well, so I think probably warm my brain now. But yes, thank you very much for coming, and see you next week with hopefully Graham making it work better. Yes. Thanks for coming. I'll see you next time. Lou.